introduction.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Kydd. I'm being interviewed by the lovely April, who's behind the camera, who is my PA, my personal assistant, not pain in the arse, as somebody said to me yesterday. How rude. Because she's not, she's lovely. But we're going to be talking about a few books that I've published, because I have a publishing company called Squidd, which is Squydd, and it's Jonathan Kydd Publishing Limited. And there is a website, squid.co.uk. And you can look it up and see the books I've published. But I have them all here, all the books I've published. Look, there they are so far, just the 4 of them. But that means I'm a publisher. Get them all on Amazon and eBay. Anyway, she's going to ask me a few questions. I'm an actor and a voiceover and a publisher. So here we go with the questions that the lovely April is going to be asking me.
What inspired you to write this book or slash books?
What inspired me to write this book or slash books? Well, there they are all here. There's one of my father's was a famous actor, died in 1982, who wrote a lot of memoirs, which I found in my mum's loft, and he wrote an autobiography that never got published. So I've linked them all together, and I'm starting writing this. This is the first volume, which I wrote, sold about 2,000 copies. This one, the unpublished memoirs. He was called Sam Kydd. Over 290 films and hundreds and hundreds of tellies. He was a very fortunate man in that he'd been an impressionist before the war. I never knew that. Found out by looking at bits of paper that he wrote on betting slips, wrote stories on backs of scripts and on bits of paper and backs of. It goes to the dry cleaners. He got these cardboard backs to shirts when they're starched and whatever. He wrote on them. Found them all. Big trunks my mother had left everything in the loft. Anyway, so I cobbled that together during COVID. And that's that one. Some fantastic stories in that one. And I'll read a bit about him. Actor Sam Kydd, Crane, Orlando, Messmates, Dixon, I'm All Right Jack, Angels 1-5, Reach for the Sky, Coronation Street. Sam was in all these iconic films and TV series, but masses more. Got a website, samkydd.com. Suggest you have a look at that. And I've got a website, which is squid.co.uk, which is for the publishing arm of my career. Anyway, but I've also written a book myself. This one, which is called Go Quicker, Sounds Slower. But anyway, the lovely April will be asking me a few questions. So lay the questions on me, April.
How did the idea come to you?
The idea for which one? For all of the books? Always a kind of sort of general idea. The idea because I found all the stuff on my dad and his autobiography, which was never published in my mum's loft. During COVID, and I thought, yeah, I've got nothing to do in COVID, I might as well write a book. So I cobbled it all together and thought, well, how do I publish this? Sent it off to various publishing houses, various publishers who said, yeah, great, I love it, we'll give you 1.5%. And I thought, hang on a second, that's a bit dubious, isn't it, the amount? So I thought, sod it, I'll publish them all myself. So I did, but the main idea for this one, for the Go Quicker, Sound Slower one, that one there, was because I used to come back from doing voiceover sessions and acting bits and pieces and auditions and goodness knows what else, and just write them down, particularly if they were really silly. But you get some strange things happening. It's not like, for example, doing a video game and they're asking you to play a troll with an enormously heavy sword, and you actually have to play with the sword. You have to get in there, and you can't just go sword. You've got to go. It's done it for a second. You have to go with a sword. You've got to go because you're doing that kind of acting with it. It's the sound. I remember getting a direction. Oh, I don't think the sword's heavy enough. Doesn't sound heavy enough really for me. Not getting it. Okay, I will. That's the voice I was given for the director, who I think was a bit like that. But yes, so you've got to then imagine you've got this great broadsword as the troll, and they give the troll a kind of sort of voice like that. It's slightly Norwegian or whatever, I don't know where it was from. Anyway, he liked that voice. Come here, you puny Scotsman. They were Scots. The troll was killing them all. You have to do that. And she said, right now, can you, it was a girl actually, it wasn't a bloke like that, it was a girl, I remember, the bloke was the other one. And she said, right, can you now do the whole of the village, the village that he's killing, and they're all Scots. I went, oh, okay. But she said, yeah, it's just screams. And so I went going, ah, 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 and also, as you have your head lopped off, stuff like that. And she said, I'm not getting the impression that they're Scots. Oh, okay. I thought it didn't matter really, but I could go, okay. She went, oh, no, but no. So I had to somehow give it a kind of, good kid. Anyway, that's an example. That kind of story is in that very book. But yeah, the idea was, I just thought, well, I've written the first one, let's write another one. Anyway, next question, please. April.
How did your relationship with your father influence your writing?
That's an interesting question. I don't think it influenced me at all. I don't think he had any influence over me at all in my writing. I didn't realise that he wrote so well. His book about being a prisoner of war, For You the War Is Over, which sold 60,000 in 1963, which is a great read, really fantastic read, I kid you not. He wrote that really well. I had no idea he was such a great writer. But obviously, if it sold 60,000, you're doing pretty well. And it got reviewed recently because I republished it, obviously, and it got reviewed on BBC Radio Belfast. And here's the review, which is really fantastic. A captivating read, so compelling, featuring experiences none of us could ever hope to empathise with. Courageous, such powerful writing. Stephen Rainey, BBC Radio Belfast. And then Manning O'Brien, author and director. I couldn't put the book down, so amusing, but the underlying misery and frustration comes through so well. No mean feat, and I say so as a pro writer. A truly enjoyable book. It deserves the success it's having. And then Terry Wogan, the Times said, entertaining and interesting. So pretty good, eh? And the Times said, Rabelaisian, but it wouldn't it? Oozes so much colourful character, it's very funny. So that was, so yeah, he was a good writer. I just suppose influenced by his humour, because I've tried to make the Go Quicker Sound Slow as humorous as possible, because he was a very good, he was a humorous writer and a humorous man, so perhaps it's influenced that way.
Any challenges you encountered?
Any challenges I encountered? My ability to not think what I've written is funny and then rewrite it. I'm doing an audiobook at the moment of his first book, and I'm having such great difficulty with that. I'm a perfectionist. I just keep going over and over everything. So yeah, that's been very difficult, yeah.
What do you have any biggest hopes for the impact on the readers?
Big hopes for the impact on the readers? Well, I hope they find it funny. It's as simple as that. I hope they find my book funny. I hope they like my father's books, because there's another one to come for my father's book when he was in a series called Crane and Orlando, and that's really, I've fleshed that out. It's interesting. With all his diaries are very revelationary, because they say things like, they point the finger at people being idiots, which I rather like. But yeah, so yeah. I can't remember the question again. What was it? The lovely April.
Just lost track. Hold on.
She's lost track. I've lost track. We've all lost track. It's a disaster.
Do you have any biggest hopes for the impact on the readers?
Hopes for the impact of the readers, I said, yeah. Hope they find them funny, and such success, word of mouth makes people buy them in bulk, buy masses of these books. Yes.
Did you ever feel like you were writing for your father or about you?
Through my father?
Yes.
No. Yes, to an extent. I tried to capture his voice as much as possible, if I could, when I was writing bits, because in some instances I used his autobiography and just used chunks of what he'd written, but then there were other bits and pieces that I'd find in the diary, an event that took place in the diary that I'd pad out and try and make sound as authentic as him as I possibly could. But yeah.
Any messages you want to give the readers out there?
Subliminal messages. Oh, hello, reader. Any messages? Buy the book, please. Buy the books, please. Squid Publishing. Squid.co.uk. SQUYDD. Squid.
What would you say to your younger self if you could go back and tell yourself writing this book?
Learn the guitar properly. Learn the piano. Don't become an actor. Become something else completely different. Have a completely different life. don't love football, don't love cricket, don't love all these things that have taken my life over. Go and live in the Hebrides on my own and become miserable. Nah, that's not true at all, is it? You know that. Nah, just mucking about.
No, maybe.
Come on, the lovely April.
Are there any aspects of your father's story you'd like to explore further in the future?
I'd like to finish the third book, which will be 58, I think, to 63, but it might go up to 69. I don't know. Depends how much information I've got. And also, it's become a slight millstone around my neck. I feel I need to finish it as I need to do the audiobooks, and I've got lots of other things to do. Trying to make a documentary about him, and I'm trying to, I've got a film idea I'd like to shoot as well, and I like making little videos. JonathanKydd.com, by the way, if you're interested. Yeah. What was the question again?
Anything about family?
Yeah. Would you like me to say something about family?
No comment.
April, a lovely April is the partner, of course.
Is there any advice your father gave you?
Yes, he gave me some fantastic advice. Never wear a hat on stage that's too small for you.
Any others?
Yeah. It's all he ever said, the bastard. Why did he ever say that? I've been in Zigazagger, not with the National Youth Theatre, on the Marovitz Hamlet at school. I remember there was a portion of each. And Marovitz Hamlet was a very trendy, pseudo play at the time. And I wore a hat, which was one of his, and it proved he had a much smaller head than me, and it just kept falling off, and he watched it afterwards. That's all he said about my performance. The other thing he said was I was in a review called Theatrical Digs that was the Perrier Award runner-up in 1982, and he said, never thought you could be as funny as that, he said. So perhaps you did say more, but they're the two main things I've remembered. He was a lovely man. He loved me. He was great. We just went to cricket and football and played cricket and football, and that was about it, really. That's all we did. I loved him for that, so that's all we did.
How does it feel to be a son of a famous person?
Difficult. It's difficult to be the son of a famous person because, particularly now when I go to film things and people say, oh, this is Sam Kydd's son. Sam Kydd made 290 films. And I slightly despair of that because I've had a decent career myself. But I think it's tricky because a lot of jealousy. If I'm going to university, difficult with lots of people saying, "Oh, your father's a millionaire. Father's a millionaire, isn't he? Lend us a quid." Right, just being snooty and aggressive with me. You know, we know you are. We don't like you. Your father's a famous actor. I remember that happening a lot at university. So that wasn't a great time. But,
they all speak like that.
No, very few of them speak like that. I just gave them that character. It has had its benefits because you could sort of bask in his brilliance, in his celebrity, because he was so well known. He was mobbed frequently, particularly when we went to football with huge numbers of people. Particularly when he was in Crane. Crane was a series watched by about, I don't know, on occasion 17 million people in the week. There were only 2 channels, and we go to the football, and people used to say this bizarre phrase, "Lend us a quid, Sam, lend us a quid." Why, a pound meant a lot more those days, but why would my dad lend something to somebody that he'd never ever get it back? It just meant, give us a quid, Sam. I remember some bloke saying to me, "You're a millionaire to me, you're a millionaire. Why have you come here? Why at university here? Why are you here?" Bizarre things that people come up with.
Are you anything like your father?
Nothing. He was...
Crap. I'm sorry.
I think probably very, very like my father. He was very... Well, because he was very funny. I'm very funny. No, he was very amusing and a very warm, dear chap. And I think I've just inherited so many traits of his, just a sensitivity, a great sensitivity with people. He's just fantastic. My mother was fantastic as well, so I think I'm half and half actually with both of them. She was very spiritual. And she said that she would come back as a robin when she died, and we have frequent visits from a robin. One came into the sitting room the other day, and I said, "Mother, I don't speak robin. What am I going to do? We don't speak. What are we going to do?" And he just had a quick shit, and then, I said, "Meet me outside. We'll try and speak outside. Don't do it in here." And it flew out of the window, and I followed it, and it had gone. Then it comes back in, and I try and have a chat. And then my dad, though, when he died at 4:30 in the morning, apparently I was woken up at 4:30 in the morning by a pigeon. And it's a terrible pigeon, I apologise. On the windowsill of these digs I was in a play called Still Crazy After All These Years at the Young Vic, in the studio. And I woken up, and I remember going up to the windowsill and going, "Fuck's sake, fuck off, pigeon!" Not realising I was actually probably telling my father to fuck off. And I went back to bed, and then my mother phoned the digs in the morning to say that your father died at 4:30 in the morning. So ever since then, when I started writing the book, I kept hearing and frequently when I'm about to go and write a bit or edit a bit of the stuff he's written, I hear mind you, I have a friend, an actor called Jonathan Cole, who said, "There's fucking pigeons everywhere. What's the matter with you?" Just a coincidence. But the lovely thing is our 9-year-old daughter, and lovely April, and our 9-year-old daughter, every time she sees a pigeon, she said, "Oh, look, it's Grandad." And if there are a lot of them, she says, "Grandad, he's brought a few friends with him." It's very good fun. So, but yeah, no, my mother wasn't just spiritual. She was a fantastic sportswoman. She played table tennis for England. 1949 doubles runner-up. She was a bit of an iconoclast. I think she entered the competition with an American because she wasn't picked for it. So she thought, "Oh, I've got enough to do this." Her partner played with someone else. I think she beat her partner on the way to the final. But that was her, very much like that. She was a sweet woman. She had a bit of a temper on her occasionally, but so have I. But yes, anyway, next question, please. The lovely April.
Would you write a book about your mother?
It came up well, didn't it? To write a book about my mother. I'd love to. I don't think I have the time. It may be something I write in 10 years when I'm on my Zimmer frame.
Okay.
Come on, next one.
Bear with me. You've answered many questions in the questions I wanted to ask.
Ooh, get me. No tapping.
Annoying tap.
Come on.
I think we'll pause for now, and then
No, we won't. We're carrying on. Give me another question. Come
I've
on.
now lost because
You're lost. It's the next page. You've just written questions down. Ask them.
suppose.
Go on.
How do you deal with trolls?
I get upset. Just been trolled at this very moment for. I do something called the Chelsea Fan Bite, which is all about Chelsea. I watch all the games, and I went away yesterday to Nottingham Forest, and they got into the Champions League, and I wrote. I do a 2-minute thing, the Fan Bite, discussing how I think the season's gone, how I think the match has gone, and we got a lot of abuse from people for being an old supporter, and it upsets me. And yet at the same time, we live in a world where everybody has an opinion, everybody hides behind a keyboard and tells you what they think. But I've been supporting Chelsea since I was little, since I was, my dad took me as a baby, would you believe, but also since I was 8, I've been remembering going. And I feel I'm qualified to make an assessment of how the team play. But having said that, though, I then block them and then don't communicate with them. But it does make a dent. I think for a sensitive person, and you're creative, is bound to make a dent. But yeah, I do this thing called the Chelsea Fancast podcast, and the David Kydd and a chap called Tony Glover are big defenders of anything that happens like that with me. Both of them terrific on the show and mates, and they. Tony's just been saying what David said, who's a psychiatrist. He just said, David Kydd, he said, you just got to ignore it. You just ignore them and don't give them any petrol for it. So don't reply or anything. So I don't ever reply. But it's difficult when you are abused. I don't mind dialogue. I think we're all entitled. It's democratic right. We have dialogue with people. Let's debate it. But just to be abused for being having a different view of something is absurd.
Was there any compliments that your father gave you?
Compliments. If you're going to wear a hat, make sure you wear it well. No, I don't know. I've just made that one up. I don't.
There was one the other day. Can you try jog your memory?
Can you tell me what it was?
It was quite emotional, if I remember rightly.
Was it a compliment you told me?
Yes.
I don't know. You have to remind me. I can't remember.
About being funny.
You told me I didn't think you could be as funny as that. Yeah.
Do you want to tell the story?
I just have.
It was bigger than that.
I told it earlier.
We didn't clearly record it earlier, did we?
No, just we did.
Half.
No,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Do apologise.
God, I can't get the staff. The lovely April, everybody. Lovely April. It was about to give birth. Fantastic. This is locking it in time. In Aspic. It's in Aspic now. This is exactly the period. Chelsea beat Nottingham Forest, and you're about several days off giving birth. And I'm not going to Poland to see them in the Conference
You're working
League.
though, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got some jobs now. Yeah, but I hadn't at the time. Deliberately, I'm not going because she thinks she's going to give birth, and I have gone behind several doors and leapt out and gone boom just to see if she can then give birth before I was going off to Poland. But no, she hasn't, so I'm not going to Poland. But hey, it's going to be lovely. It's another girl, so that's three girls, the X chromosome. Hey, and she actually said, "Oh, we can always try again, see if we can have another." There'll be 4 girls. I just know it. And we're struggling with a name. Oh dear me, struggling for a name for this one. We think of calling her Elsie because that's her grandmother's name, but it's a bit retro. You know, I'm not quite convinced that Elsie Kydd, Elsie Tanner, Elsie, give me your answer do. No, that's not the song at all. Just
So
make that up.
JK.
Yes, JK. That's
Are
me.
we exploring the idea of a book launch?
A book launch? Yes, we're having a book launch. We're having a book launch on what month are we now? On June the 15th. We're having a book launch for this one here. That one there. That little book there. We're having a book launch for that one at the British Legion, which is 67 Upper Richmond Road, just by the East Putney Tube in London. And 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's free as a bird, free. I shall be talking about these books, talking about my dad's career, and showing a few pictures, a few vids from stuff I've done, a few vids from nearly all from him, actually. It's about him, but little bits and pieces about me. The odd, apologise, the odd show reel. Yeah, that's taking place then. So anybody wants to come to that, yeah. Is that enough?
There was a few other questions, but
What happened to them?
I don't know what happened.
You've forgotten to ask them.
Yeah.
Can you find them there? You need to get your specs on? No?
I think I need to go back to school and rewrite them.
Right, okay. Try one, I'll see if I can interpret it differently.
What was the process of researching?
Of what? The surgeon?
Researching. When you researched all the materials and stuff.
The process?
What was the process?
Well, a good point. The process of my book was just I'd written it all on a Pages document, so there wasn't much researching necessary. I just did a ridiculous job or a ridiculous experience at an audition and wrote it when I got back. And it's like I remember going to have to do a commercial, and the everybody in the room for the commercial was podgy. It was large men. And I thought I must be in the wrong room because I'm not a large man. I don't mean tall. I mean just they were. How can I put it? Porkers. Not allowed to say that anymore, am I? They were of large beam, large in the beam, as my mother would say. Oh, he's large in the beam. And my mother didn't speak terribly like that. She had elocution lessons. My mum just spoke like that originally. It's large in the beam, and so I went to the casting director and said, I don't think I'm quite right for this. He said, let's see what the director says. You know, I think you look fine to me. He said, all men have fat stomachs unless they train like mad. I said, I don't have a fat stomach. Oh, I see. So let's see. The director, and I had to go in with a model, and I had to wear a pair of shorts. So I brought the shorts and I changed and went in. She was in her bra and panties, and I was thinking, oh, this is very peculiar. Anyway, we had to. He said, and the director said, right, what I want you to do is to you pet each other. You were going to, as if you're going to make loaf. And I said, make loaf. I said, is he a baker? What? lick love. No, make love. I said, oh, make love. I see, yes. But you pet each other, but then she grabs you around the waist and she wobbles your big fat wobbly belly, and then you have the diet soup. And I said, oh, that's the ad, is it? Okay, good, we'll do that. I said, the problem is I don't have a wibbly wobbly belly. I don't have a wibble to wobble. And he said, well, act it. So we tried, and this girl I'm with has no desire to have anything to do with me at all. She's treating me as if I'm, wet fish, and she wants nothing to do with me. Slightest, or there's something going to catch something horrible from me. So we don't attempt to make love at all. We just nothing happens. Then she grabs and she said, I can't find anything to grab. And I went, oh, thank you very much. But then I went back to the phoned my agent at the end of it. It was disastrous. I mean, I don't know what I was there for. And he said, well, I don't know why you're putting up such a fuss. He said, you've been penciled for the commercial. I said, I can't be penciled for it. He said, director thought you were very funny. I said, yeah, but that wasn't the case. I don't know, I'm funny. I'm not of large demeanour. I'm not that way. You need a large person for this, for the gag to work. Anyway, then he phoned me back the next day and said, oh, the pencil's been taken off, as if it was somehow my fault. Been taken off. They thought you weren't fat enough. Oh, let's say it like it is, shall we? Yeah, well, I told you that from the very beginning. But it's got stories like that in the book. So that was easy. That was easy to write, to get inspiration for. But my dad's stuff was just, it's still there. It's all in diaries. It's all in book form from his unpublished autobiography. It's all from notes that he left lying around, little stories, little sketches that he wrote. It's all there. So it's just a question then of cobbling it all together. Napkins. Yes, he even wrote on napkins. Yeah, he did. He wrote betting slips as well. Betting slips. I mean, for goodness sake. Big better. Never had any money.
I think we'll say goodbye for now.
Oh, for now, I think that's it, isn't it?
I'd like to write some more questions. You've inspired
me. Oh, more
well.
questions.
Unless
bye, everybody. Bye.
Questions? Please?
Bye, Sooty. Bye.